right, hello everyone. Welcome, welcome. How's everybody doing today? Let me know in the chat who is here. Janica, you're getting to be that first in line. Top Nail was usually first in line, but I think now you've kind of taken over that spot in the chat. So, but welcome in. And Julie, how you doing? Top Nail, there you are. Felicia and Ro. Not sure how you pronounce that, but welcome, welcome. Sandra and Sabrina, welcome to you guys. How's everybody doing? Hopefully you're having a wonderful day today. Today we're going to be doing some gel. We're going to be working with our Synergy hard gel system. And I had a request from our Discord, actually no, from our Twitch channel to work with our Honey Opal gel. So that's what we're going to be working with today. You guys, it has an actual label. I just have that written on the top so I know from the top view. But our Honey Opal gel is a beautiful, kind of a peachy, pinky, opal-y, tangerine. I'm not even sure what color, but it's a beautiful opal color. Let me see if I can, there you go. So you can see that really pretty shimmer into it. So we're going to be working with that today, and we're going to create kind of a marble stone kind of a look. And you guys, all of the colors and everything that I'm going to be using, I did post up on our Discord channel. So if you guys aren't part of our Discord community yet, make sure you join that. And I will always post what products I'm going to be using. So if you want to work along with me, that's always going to be in our Discord chat. So join our Discord, so that way if you want to work along with me, you have all of that product beforehand and you can gather everything. So again, today we're going to be working with our Honey Opal. We're also going to be using a Numero Uno glitter, which I think is going to go absolutely beautifully with that Honey Opal gel. Let me open these back up again so you guys can see. So that Honey Opal has, again, kind of that peachy kind of pearl to it. And I'm not sure if you can quite see this on camera, but Numero Uno, and you guys, the camera doesn't do it justice. It looks a little bit whiter on camera, but there is more of kind of that kind of peachy coppery tone to this glitter. So that's what we're going to be working with in our design today. And then we're also going to be using, I still haven't quite made a choice yet today, but we're going to be using, again, as a request in our Twitch chat this morning, I guess, somebody requested that I show the striper paint. So again, I haven't quite figured out which color I want to use. I'm thinking I might go with the black, but I've got white, gold, and silver here along, just in case I decide to change my mind. So those are the colors that we're going to be working with today. And who wants to see a long nail today? Like a, not quite a, well, maybe an XL. But let me know in the chat. Do you want to see a, let's see, I'm going to say a medium length, or do you want to see a long nail today? Put that in the chat. Let me know what you want to see today. I want to know what you guys want to do. So let's get started with whatever we're going to be doing, whatever length and shape we're going to do. We're always going to start by pushing back our cuticles. And I'm using our magic wand and just going through, gently pushing back the cuticles. All right, I'm seeing some long, some extra long, a couple of mediums in there. All right. Okay, so the next one that I see on our chat, that's what I'm going to choose. All right, so the next few things that I saw are long, so we're going to do a long nail today. Maybe we'll switch it up later in the week and we'll do a shorter nail. But again, go ahead and push back those cuticles, get those nice and cleaned up. And then we are going to grab our E-file. I'm going to take out that carbide bit. We're not going to use a carbide. We're going to use our mandrel with a sanding band. And this is an old sanding band, so I'm just going to remove my sanding band. I'm just using my magic wand to, if you guys take a look, there's a metal mandrel right in the center here. So I'm going to put pressure on the mandrel, slide that sanding band off, and then we'll replace that. Now, you guys, when you're working on real clients, not on the little trainer hand here, but when you're working on real clients or even yourself, that sanding band that we just took off, that is not sanitizable and disinfectable. So that one you can't put in, to clean that or disinfect that. The mandrel here, that metal part, that is sanitizable and disinfectable. So that you do want to make sure that you change that out and you disinfect that, sanitize and disinfect that after every person. Now I'm going to grab a new sanding band here. we'll slide that on. I'm going to push that on as far as I can get it. If I can't get it on any farther with just kind of the pressure of my hand, I'm going to turn that handpiece around. Let me kind of back out if I can show you this. And I'll just hold that handpiece, put pressure onto that end there, and then that's going to slide that all the way back on there. Now notice I didn't put any pressure onto that cord in the back. I don't want to bend or kind of pinch that cord in the back. So always make sure that you're just holding that handpiece right there, putting pressure, and that'll slide that bit the rest of the way on. Now we're going to use our electric file at about 5,000 RPMs. You want to make sure that you're not working too fast or too slow. So if you work too fast, that's going to put too much strain on that natural nail. It could cause damage to that nail. But if you go at too slow, here, let me turn my speed to just barely turned on here. If you put too slow, you could even make that bit stop rotating, but it's not going to do the job that it needs to do. So about 5,000 RPMs is a good speed to work at that's going to give you the right pressure and just kind of the right flow of the bit. So what I'm doing, let me come a little bit closer so you can see. I'm just coming right up around that cuticle area and down along that side. Now you guys always make sure that you're keeping your bit parallel to the nail. You're not angling that bit up. You want to make sure that you're not using just the corner of that bit. The corner, if you just use that corner, let me actually show you what happens. If you just use the corner of that bit and you go around like that, what can happen, let me see if I can come in really close so you can see. Do you see how by just using that corner of my bit, that put a little ridge right into that natural nail, okay? We absolutely want to avoid that from happening, so that's why we're not using just that corner. We're putting that bit down kind of parallel onto the nail and working across the nail like that, okay? So make sure you have the proper position with your bit so that, again, you're keeping that bit flat on the nail as you're coming around that cuticle. And a lot of times what happens is people will start on the right side, if you're right-handed, start on that side and they come around and then they start to angle up around this side because they're not quite pivoting that bit all the way around, okay? So there's a difference between turning here and, if you take a look from the side, working kind of in this direction versus here, okay? So again, it's super important to make sure that you're keeping that bit flat and kind of parallel to that nail rather than angling that bit up. Now, once we get up around that cuticle area here, we're just going to start by kind of feathering that bit across the nail. And I'm kind of working in a diagonal, so I'm working from that top left corner down to the bottom right. And again, just kind of tapering or just kind of feathering right through the surface of that nail. Now I see that I've got a little bit of a shiny spot over here. I can just come back over here and kind of do that feathering, or I can just pull that bit towards myself here. Okay, same thing over on the other side. If I see a little bit of area over here that is still a little shiny, if I kind of take a look down the barrel, I can use the base of the bit and just pull that down the side. Okay, the reason that I don't come in all the way from down here is that a lot of times if I were to start all the way down here, a lot of times you're going to catch that natural nail right in that corner and kind of notch out that corner. Okay, so make sure that you're not trying to start all the way down here. If you need to get right into that area here, just turn your bit, use the base of the bit, pull towards yourself. So that's going to keep that nail intact, and it's going to keep it nice and straight. Okay. All right, we've got our nail, started our prep there. I'm going to use my manicure brush. We're just going to dust this nail off, get all of that dust off of that nail. We want as clean of a surface as we can possibly get. Looks like I've got a little bit of a frayed edge down here. So I'm just gonna run my file right up around there. And I think that was from when I was showing you guys how to not get that edge. And that's exactly what can happen. You can cut right into that corner. So dust off that nail, get all of that dust off there, all the debris off, and then we're gonna come in with our swipe. Now swipe is our cleanser. I'm just going to pump a little bit of that onto my brush, and then we're going to go through and cleanse that nail surface. So just scrubbing that nail really nice and clean. And what the swipe is going to do, that's going to help to remove all of those surface oils that we just kind of broke up with that e-file. So kind of removing the shine, basically what that's doing is it's breaking up all of those oils in the surface of the nail. And the swipe now is going to cleanse those off. We want a nice, clean, dry, germ-free, bacteria-free surface, and that's exactly what swipe is going to give us. Now we want to make sure that we left that swipe dry before we go into our next product. So our next product is Protein Bond. Protein Bond works like a double-sided tape, so it's going to stick down to that keratin protein in the nail, but then it's going to leave a sticky surface for our product to adhere to. Now with my Protein Bond, I don't try to use a lot of it. I'm not going to just lift that brush up and go straight to the nail. I want to make sure I kind of tap off some of that extra. This way it's not going to flood onto the nail. And I also don't want to start right at that cuticle area for that same reason. I don't want to flood this product right at that cuticle area. So I'm going to start about halfway up the nail, working out to the sides, and then working up towards that cuticle. That way, the majority of my Protein Bond is going to start in the center. It's not going to flood up into the cuticle area or the sides. Okay, we're going to do 2 coats of that. Anytime you're working on an enhancement, whether it's acrylic or hard gel, I always recommend using 2 coats of Protein Bond. That way you're going to ensure really good adhesion and good coverage with that product. Okay. Crystal Glitter Bug, yes, this is the new large size bottle. I still have my small 1/4 ounce here, but as you can see, the 1/4 ounce was our original size, but now we do have the larger size bottle, though for all of you in salon, if you are working in salon, this one's going to last you a lot longer. So 2 options for you. All right, our nail is prepped, it's ready to go. Let's get our form on. And you guys requested the long, so today I'm going to be using one of our, let me grab this here. So I'm going to be using one of our XL forms today. Okay, so the XL form, you can see it's going to go all the way this far. Let me grab one of our traditional forms just so you can see the difference. And so if you are doing just a regular, maybe a short, medium, long-ish nail, you could stick with the blue traditional forms. But if you're wanting a long or an extra long nail, let me just hold that up there. This is going to be basically double the length of what your blue form is going to be. Okay, so if you're working on an XL nail, you can definitely use these. You guys, if you are trying to do a shorter nail, don't be afraid to use the XL forms as well. You can still use it for those shorter nails. It just kind of depends on how you put that form on. So let me show you what we're going to do to put that form on. I'm going to peel it off that backing. I'm going to take that little tab out of the center. We're going to take our little dancing ghost, because that's what it looks like to me. We're going to take that little dancing ghost, and you can put that on the back, either that direction or that direction, which either way is comfortable for you. Just stick that on the back, and what that's going to do is that's going to give our form a little bit more durability. Okay, so make sure that you put that form or that little tab on the back. Let me show you if you don't put that tab on the back. So this one doesn't have that tab on the back. It feels a little bit softer, a little bit more flimsy, whereas when we do put that form or that tab on the back, it's going to be a little bit more sturdy, a little bit more stable. Okay, so make sure that you do put that little tab on the back. Now we're going to pinch our form together. Now on our shorter forms, you guys always see me pinch these 2 little silver tabs together. On our XL forms, we have 2 tabs on the very end and kind of in the middle. These 2 are the ones that we're going to be pinching together. Don't worry about these ones in the back, okay? So all I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my form around and I look at it from the side. So this way I pinch those tabs together and I want to make sure that they're nice and even. So this way I'm not going to see, do you see how as I kind of rotate that a little bit, you see a little bit of that white? I don't want to stick those together when they're lopsided like that. I want to make sure that those tabs are coming together nice and even. So again, nice and even there, nice and even there. And this way, our form is going to go on nice and straight. And that point is going to come right to the center where it's supposed to be. Okay? Now, I do have a little perforation right in the top of our form here. So I'm going to open that up, and that's going to help me to get my form on nice and straight. Now, if you guys want a little bit of a shorter nail, you can always pinch that form a little bit shorter. So you guys, we're not going to go all the way to the end of the form. We're going to pinch a little bit shorter, and I recommend shortening the form up before you actually put it onto the nail, because it's going to help you in your positioning of that form, okay? So shorten it up a little bit, and we can always go a little shorter once it's on the nail if we decide to, but we're going to start right about here. And I use that end as just kind of a little handle to hang on to that, and then I can hold my client's hand and have a little bit more control here, okay? Now, when I put my form on, I'm going to start at a slight downward angle. See how I'm at just a slight downward angle. I'm going to catch underneath that natural nail, and then I'm going to lift up until that form comes out nice and straight from that free edge. Okay, so you guys can see it's coming nice and straight, and it's actually, if you take a look really closely, it looks like it's just ever so slightly angled downward. Let me come in just a little bit. But if you look at how the light is reflecting, that is going to be your guideline, okay? See how that light just kind of reflects right through there? So from this corner here to the point of our form, that's going to be our guideline. Okay, so that's going to be kind of where we're putting product. Now, the form does have, let me turn it this way, it does have those red lines, so you can use those as your guide as well. But I always kind of like to point out that little trick by using the light reflection, okay, because that's going to help you a little bit more when you're working on the sides. See, because again, you can see that light reflection all the way through there, okay? All right, we're going to just pinch that, and I'm going to pinch a little bit more right underneath this area here. If I don't pinch that, a lot of times what happens is my form ends up a little bit on the wider side. So I'm going to pinch that a little bit more underneath. This way I've got a really nice tight C-curve to that extension, and we're going to be able to build a really good structure to this nail. Okay, now we are good here. We want to make sure again that our form is coming out nice and straight from that nail. When I'm working on the longer stilettos, I do like that just ever so slight downward tilt, ever so slight, you guys, not a whole lot, but just a tiny little bit of an angle downward. That way I can get really nice straight lower arches and still build up a good shape over the top, okay? All right, another thing we want to check and make sure is if we look straight down the barrel, that we don't have any gaps between that natural nail. So if we come in nice and close here, I don't have any gaps between that natural nail right underneath there, okay? If you did have maybe a little bit of separation there, as you were working with the gel, that gel is going to kind of seep underneath there. So we want to make sure that we don't have any gap underneath there so that we keep our product nice and tight onto the nail, not under the nail, okay? All right, I think we are ready for our application. So I'm going to start with my clear sculptor. You guys, I'm working with the clear sculptor in the center, or in the precision applicator tube. We also have clear sculptor in the pot, which is a little bit thicker, but I like to use the tube just because I feel like it's an easier application, especially for those beginners. If you're just starting to work with acrylic or with gel, I feel like these tubes are a really great option for you. I feel like my form is just a little bit off-centered. Okay, I think we're good there now. So to start, I'm going to take a little bit of that gel, squeeze a little of that gel out onto my form, and I'm just going to start to kind of draw that up, connecting it to that natural nail. Okay, come back over to the other side, and just kind of drag that product up over to the other side. Now I got a little bit of an air bubble in there. I want to make sure to just kind of drag through that air bubble and kind of pop that so that I don't have a bubble on my nail. And then we're just going to start to kind of work that product from side to side and then down the form. Now, as I'm working, I'm not squeezing product out. I'm just kind of working with what I've got. I'm not trying to create a real thick layer at this point, but if you do find that you need to add a little bit more gel, add it when you have the point of your applicator in the center. That way you're not going to have too much bulk on either side, and then you can just kind of drag that from side to side. And you guys, I'm basically floating on the surface of this product. I'm not actually touching my form with the nozzle. So by floating, that's going to give me that nice even application all the way through. and we're going to go all the way down to the end of that point, and I think we're good there. Now I do see a tiny little air bubble in there. Do you guys see that? Right, oops, right in here. So that tiny little air bubble right there. I want to make sure that I don't cure that in there. So I'm just going to kind of poke my brush into it and just kind of release that air bubble and make sure that that goes away. So if you do see those air bubbles, make sure you pop them before you cure. And I'm going to grab my little mixing tile here. So I've got a little tile that I use to keep my brush clean. So I'll just kind of wipe my brush out on that. And then I'm going to come in with the side of my brush and we're going to clean up that lower arch. So using either that red line as a guide, actually I'm going to bring a little bit more product over here. Looked like it was a little bit shy on that side. Clean out my brush. But I'm going to use those red lines, or I'm going to use that light reflection as my guide. And I'm just going to kind of drag my brush up the side, making sure that I don't have product hanging down or flowing anywhere that I don't want it to. That's going to give me a nice straight sidewall. Okay, we're going to do that same thing on the other side. I'm going to turn my brush around again, just drag that brush back, pulling that all the way up into that corner. Okay, so that's going to help you get really nice, straight, even sidewalls. And we're going to get this into the light. And we're going to set that in there, and that's going to cure for at least 30 seconds. Now, if you're new to doing nails and you're not quite sure how to kind of work, as a system here, anytime one hand is in the light, I'm always going to be working on the other hand. So this way, when one is in the light, you're working on this one. That's going to give you enough time to set this one in the light into place, and then you're going to rotate. So this way you can kind of work on one while the other is curing, and you're going to just go back and forth until they're all set, just like we did here. Okay, so let's come back here to our nail. So that free edge is set enough. It's set, but it's not fully cured all the way through. But the next thing we want to use is our base gel. So base gel is a very thin gel. You can see it's very runny, it's very self-leveling. This gel is only designed really to give adhesion. So this gel, we're gonna just kind of, let me grab that there. Actually, we'll go here. So with this gel, I'm going to use my brush and I'm just going to kind of touch the surface of my gel and drag my brush across. I'm not trying to scoop up a whole lot of that gel. I don't need a lot, okay? All we're trying to do is, again, drag through, lift up my brush, tap off that little string if I need to, and then we're going to come back to our nail. I'll come in a little closer, and then I'm going to use a little bit of pressure with this. And then I'm just brushing through over that whole nail surface, okay? I want to get as close to my cuticle and sidewalls as possible without touching. You guys, the challenge with gel is you want to make sure that nothing is touching the sidewalls, nothing's touching the cuticle area, otherwise you may end up with lifting issues. Now, if you do accidentally get product on the skin, this is where I recommend having an orange wood stick handy. That way, if you do get product on the skin, you can clean that off right away and it doesn't cure in the light, okay? And we're not going to worry about overexposing our client to product, okay? That is one thing you want to make sure that you're very cautious of, especially with gels, because gels can kind of get away from you if you're not paying attention. So I'm going to grab just a little bit more of that gel on my brush, and I'm going to just kind of tap that right at the seam. So right at that connection area. And what that's going to do, that's going to really give me a good connection between that natural nail and the free edge, and then we'll cure this. It's also going to help to give me a little bit of a smoother transition from that natural nail onto our free edge so we don't have that drop down, okay? Let's get this back into our light again. Same thing, we're going to go in for another 30 seconds. And again, that is going to cure, that nail is going to cure it enough, okay? It's not going to fully cure it. 60 seconds is going to be a full cure on that, but it's going to just be enough to set that layer into place. And now we will grab our Honey Opal. And you guys, if you weren't here at the beginning, our Honey Opal gel is absolutely gorgeous. It's kind of that pinky, peachy, shimmery, pearly, absolutely gorgeous color. We've got that, and we're also going to be using our Numero Uno glitter. which is, again, you guys, it doesn't show as true to color on camera as it really is, but it does have a little bit of that kind of peachy, coppery, goldish kind of a tint to it. Okay, so we're gonna be mixing those. Actually, I'm gonna set that nail off to the side so I can show you how we're gonna mix. Now I'm gonna use, and you guys, you could use your choice of gels at this point. I'm gonna use the clear Sculptor, but you could also use the Flex gel or the Build Pink, just depending on what consistency you wanna work with. If you want something a little thinner, the Flex is gonna be our thinnest gel. If you want something a little thicker or kind of a medium, I would say go with the Build or the Build Pink. And then the Sculptor here that I'm using is gonna be our thickest option for mixing. Now let me grab my spatula. And I just have a little mixing spatula. You guys can get these in like the painting section at your local craft store. Just gonna take a little bit of that glitter. And you guys, this is just straight glitter. This is not acrylic, this isn't gel, this isn't anything, it's just straight glitter, okay? So just using a little bit of that, sprinkled onto my gel. Actually, I think I'm gonna use a little bit more, scoop a little bit more. And then, let me come back in here. I'm just gonna start to press that glitter down into my gel. Work that glitter down in there, and then I can start to just smooth that all together, really combining, working all of that glitter into that gel. Make sure you got everything mixed up really, really well. Get all of that glitter combined. And you guys, I'm not like bouncing my spatula. Do you see how as I bounce, it kind of puts those little peaks and valleys? What that's going to do, that's going to put air bubbles into your gel, okay? So as you're mixing your glitters into your gels, make sure that you're just kind of smoothing them together, and that's going to combine everything, okay? Afterwards, I just kind of gather that all back up, and I will usually do one last kind of final smooth out. That way, if there were any air bubbles in there, I got that all smoothed out. Okay, we'll just scoop that all back up into place right there in my tile. So I've got my glitter mixture here. Let me close up my glitter so I don't spill that. I've got my honey opal gel. Let me come back out a little bit for you guys. And I also have, I'm actually going to use a little bit of that clear Sculptor. I'm just going to put that right on my tile in case I want to add a little bit of that into my design here. So let's come back to our nail. Now our nail is cured out. All we have is just that thin extension. So we haven't built up any structure yet. We haven't really created any structure to that nail. All we have is just that thin extension. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove my form, and I'm just going to pinch that form underneath. Oops, sorry guys, let me come in. I'm going to just pinch that form together underneath so it releases from the product. And if it doesn't quite release, let me readjust here, you guys. If it doesn't quite release, you can use either that mixing spatula, or I've got my magic wand here, just kind of going along those edges to make sure that it has released completely. If my form is not released from my product, there's a good chance that I would end up breaking off this free edge when I pull down here like this and remove that form. But because it was completely released, everything came off nice and easy, okay? So again, you guys, this nail, super, super thin. We don't have any structure. It's very delicate at this point, so we want to be careful that we're not putting any pressure onto that extension, okay? But let's go ahead and do our design, and we're gonna do kind of a marble-esque, kind of a marble stone kind of a look. So let me show you guys what we've got here, and then we'll come in a little closer. So again, I've got my honey opal. I'm just going to kind of pick up a little pearl of that, and you guys see that string hanging there? That's how your gel is going to be. That's the consistency that you want it. Just tap off that little string to kind of release it. A lot of times I see people do this with their gels. So they'll scoop in and they'll take their gel and then they'll just go like that. You guys see how much of a mess that's going to make? Okay, so as you're working with your gels, I'm actually going to clean this up. I'm going to take a little bit of polish remover or swipe, clean that off of the jar, clean that off of my own nail. So when you are picking up your gels, you want to make sure that you have control of it. So again, pick up, so kind of scoop into that gel, tap off that little string and that'll release, okay? That way it's not gonna make a mess all over your table, all over that container, or on your skin or anything like that. Now let's come in a little bit. And there we go. So I'm gonna take that little pearl and I'm just gonna start to kind of just drizzle that anywhere I feel like I want to. And you guys, this is where working with gels gets to be a lot of fun. I'm gonna pick up a little bit more, because with this design especially, there's really no rhyme or reason to where you're putting this color. I'm just kind of swirling it onto the nail. Now notice though, I am just kind of floating on the surface of it. Just like I was showing you guys before on that tile, I'm not bouncing my product. I'm doing more of a floating technique. So I'm staying on the surface of that gel and just kind of guiding that into place, again, wherever I want. Now, the thicker you apply it, the more solid that color is going to look. If you apply a little bit more thin, it's going to end up looking a little more sheer. So it just kind of depends on what kind of a design and what color you're looking for. Then we're going to pick up a little bit of that glitter mixture that we created. And I'm just going to kind of fill in a little bit, kind of swirling that together with that honey opal. Same thing, just kind of pick up a little bit more. And then you guys, I'm going to grab a little bit of that clear. Remember how I left a little bit of that clear? Where did I put that? I left a little bit of clear right on my tile. So I'm going to scoop that up. And I'm just going to kind of drizzle that in. And this is going to really just kind of magnify some of those colors. It's going to leave a little bit of space, but it's going to give a little bit more depth to this nail. So just kind of blending that in. So do you see how those little bits of clear just kind of, again, magnify and again, just kind of give some depth to this design. Now you don't have to do clear on the whole thing at this point. We're going to kind of still work through this design and this color, getting that exactly how we want. I'm just going to get a little bit more product right up by my cuticle area. Just kind of using the tip of my brush here. And again, kind of floating. I'm working in kind of a circular motion to get that product up to that cuticle. And then if you feel like you want to, you can kind of blend those colors a little bit more, swirl them together a little bit more. I think I want a little bit more of that honey opal right in through here. So just kind of grab a little bit of that and just kind of drizzle a little bit through there. And then maybe just a little bit more of our glitter mixture right down at that point. However you want. Now you guys, as you're working, be cautious and make sure that your product isn't starting to run down the sides or run into your cuticle area. That's where, remember when I was saying grab an orange wood stick? If you do have any product that does run a little bit, make sure that you, make sure you clean that up and keep that off of the skin. So again, anything that may have run down the side, make sure to clean that up. Okay, and I think I'm gonna just kind of pull a little bit more back here. Maybe just kind of swirl that together just a little bit more. Okay, I'm really liking that. Let's go ahead and get that into the light. Just like we were doing before, we're gonna freeze that in there for 30 seconds. Now you guys, if you are doing this design on, so say on, like on my hand, whoops, sorry guys, whoop. There we go. So like on my hand, I have 3 different nails that have kind of that dimensional look. I may do 1 nail at a time. I may do 2 nails at a time. It just depends on how your product is moving and flowing. But it's okay to do 1 nail at a time, get it into the light. Because like I was saying before, you're going to work on one hand while the other's in the light. So if you are only working on one hand or on 1 nail, it's not going to take any more time, than it would try to do all of them at the same time. It's actually probably going to be faster to do 1 at a time, because if you try to do 2 nails or 3 nails at a time, you're probably going to have some of this product running down the sides, and then you have to chase it and clean it back up. So again, working 1 nail at a time is probably going to be your easiest option. Okay. Now at this point, we are going to take our, where did we put it? We're going to grab our Build Pink, and you could use either the clear sculptor that we were using before or your Build Pink. and we're going to encapsulate this design. Now the Build Pink is just a kind of a sheer pink. It's just got a tiny little tint of pink, and I don't even know if you'll even be able to see this on camera. Actually, you can see a little bit. Just a little bit of a pink tint. It's not a bright pink, okay? But the reason that I like to use the Build Pink rather than the clear Sculptor is because anytime I have like a glitter or anything like this, that Build Pink is just going to kind of brighten up that color a little bit. It's going to really magnify that color, especially if you do have any of those kind of pink or peachy tones into the nail. This Build Pink is really going to brighten those up a little bit. And I don't know, what is that on the nail? It looks like there's a little something, right? Oops, make sure this doesn't run. A little rogue piece of glitter got in there somehow. I don't want that in there, so we'll just remove that. And then we'll go back to applying. Now you guys notice how I've got this finger angled? It's going pretty close to straight down. This way, if I were to hold my nail flat like this, do you see how the product is going to start to kind of run off to the sides? If I hold that nail angled straight down, the product is going to flow down the length of the nail and not down into those sides or cuticle area. Okay, so this is going to make your application much easier. And just like we were doing before with our free edge, I'll squeeze out a little bit of that product, work it out to the sides, and then down the length of the nail. Squeeze out a little bit more as needed, and just start to kind of work that down to the sides. If you see any of those little air bubbles, I see one right there, just kind of pull through that air bubble, make sure it pops. Whoops, that was a big air bubble. That one we don't need in there. But make sure to pop those air bubbles before you cure. Okay, that way we don't have those little divots in the nail. All right, we've got that capped all the way to the end. I am going to come back with my brush here, and if I need to kind of touch up around my cuticle, get my product maybe a little bit closer to the cuticle if I need to, or just kind of touch up around the sides, make sure nothing flowed down too much. And I'm going to get that into the light. Now, you guys, I know that I don't have enough product on this nail, but that's okay, okay? We're going to just set this first layer into place, and then we'll come back and we'll add a little bit more product on there, especially when you're working with those XL nails like we've got, you guys. You want to make sure that you're building up a proper arch, okay? For my little short nails here, I don't need a whole lot of an arch here. You can see, I come in a little closer. I don't have a whole lot of arch, and you guys don't judge my nails. I know they're grown out. I need a fill desperately, but I don't have much of an arch because I've got a short nail. That arch here is, I don't need a lot of that for support and durability because I don't have a lot of length. Now on this nail, let me come back here. So on this nice long nail, this one we definitely do not have enough structure to this. Do you see how kind of flat surfboardy this is looking? Our free edge, that's about the thickness that we want. We're going to maybe do a little filing through there, but we do need to build up this apex. And the apex, the highest point, is going to be right over your stress area. So the stress area is where if maybe you were to jam this nail, that's where all of that pressure is going to go. So that's where it's going to be more likely to break. So we definitely need to build up that stress area and give that nail some more balance. And then we do need to build in some structure to the rest of the enhancement, the rest of that free edge, so we can have really good, good structure. Okay. So to add more product, we're going to come back again with our Build Pink. I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit more product. And basically, I'm going to come right down the center of that nail. And this is going to start to kind of build that arch. So I'm going to kind of fade it out to my free edge because I don't need a lot right down on that free edge. But I do want to just kind of use my brush, and I'm just going to kind of feather out those sides, get those to blend a little bit. And the Build Pink is a little bit of a self-leveling gel. So you can kind of see it's just going to kind of level itself out, and it's going to flow right where I need it. I'm just going to kind of guide that free edge a little bit more. I'm going to get that into the light right away. This way it's not going to run down the sides of the nails, okay? Now you guys, let me show you something really quick as this is curing. When you're working on long nails, is that far? Okay, I guess I'll come back up here. So when you're working on long nails, or really any length of the nail, if you kind of think about your nail as a teeter-totter, seesaw, whatever you guys call it, out on the playground. I don't know if they even have these anymore, but what a teeter-totter is one person sits on one end, another person sits on the other end, and if they're the same weight, that teeter-totter is balanced, okay? It doesn't go anywhere. Now, if there's somebody that's heavier on one side and the other person on the other side is lighter, that's where the pressure is going to go, okay? Now, I explained this to you guys because that's exactly how you need to structure your nail. If your nail bed area, that nail body, is the same length as your free edge, you're nice and balanced, okay? But if you have a short nail body or a short nail bed area and then a long free edge, which is exactly what we've got on our nail here, okay? See, we've got that short nail body and long free edge. We need to build up a little bit more structure to balance. We need a little bit more weight on this end to balance than this end, okay? This end, the free edge, is going to be heavier. So by building up that arch, building up that apex, that's going to give us more stability, more balance on our nail body, so that way we're not going to have to worry about lifting or separation. Okay, so just a quick little tip when you are building structure into your enhancements, kind of keep that little teeter-totter in mind so that you are going to be building a nice balanced nail. Now, I think we are good for structure here. Maybe just a tiny little bit more right through that apex, because again, you guys, this nail is definitely on the longer side, so I want to make sure that I've got enough structure right in that apex and that arch, okay? And you guys, we are going to be doing a little bit of filing, so I want to make sure, you know, from the free edge as well, that I've got enough product on there. Now, we're going to go back into that light. We're going to cure that now for a full 60 seconds, okay? That's going to go in the light for a full 60 seconds. And then in the meantime, that's usually when I start to kind of clean up a little bit. So I'll clean off all of my mixing tiles here. You guys, here's something kind of fun that I like to do. Scoop all of those colors together, and that kind of sometimes will give me another idea for a different nail. So you kind of mix those colors together, you can see other designs, other colors coming into play. So just something kind of fun that I like to do when I'm cleaning up. That's actually a really pretty color. And you guys, unfortunately, camera does not do that justice, but it's a beautiful, kind of a sheer white sparkle. Absolutely beautiful. But again, this is the time where I do a little bit of my cleaning, kind of clean up my station, so that way when we get to filing, all of my products are closed, all of my gels are closed. I don't have anything up by my light that's going to cure. So again, closing everything up until that nail is cured. Once that is cured, we will take that back out of the light here. It does have a tacky surface to it once it's cured. And we're going to go back to our swipe, that same product that we used earlier to cleanse the nail. I'm going to put a little bit of that on my lint-free wipe here, and we're going to clean off that nail. Oops. Don't pull your client's nail out of the socket. All right, let me get that back in there. Okay. So our nail's cured out. It's ready to file. I'm going to take out my dust collector here. You guys, if you don't have a dust collector, I highly recommend getting one. This way, what it's going to do is it's going to, as you're filing, it's going to pull all of those filter, and then you'll just end up filter out and shake that out when you're done. Those really ultra fine pieces of dust away from your breathing zone, and you're not going to get those into your nose and your lungs and your sinuses and all that good stuff. So if you don't have a dust collector, I highly recommend it. Okay, now I took my sanding band out of my e-file here. I'm going to switch to my X-Cut carbide. My X-Cut carbide is a, let's see, grab here. Oh, are we glitching out, you guys? Hopefully we're not. All right, I think we're okay, but you guys, moderators, let me know if we're glitching out. Hopefully we're all good. But I put my X-Cut carbide in, and the X-Cut carbide, let me come in a little closer. X-Cut carbide is the same. All right, we're back. Blur, it's choppy. All right, we'll restart, you guys. Looks good from the top. All right, you guys, I'm going to restart. Apologies for that. We'll restart, and hopefully it'll come back and we'll finish up this nail. So come back and join us.